At 1 p.m. this afternoon, the Indian Army issued a statement talking about the violent face-off in Ladakh. The Army said, and I quote, that during the de-escalation process underway in the Galwan Valley, a violent face-off took place yesterday night with casualties on both sides. The loss of lives on the Indian side. The loss of lives on the Indian side include an officer and 2 soldiers. Senior military officials of the 2 sides are currently meeting at the venue to defuse the situation. So there were casualties on both sides, and at the Galwan Valley, Shavan is telling us more about what happened. We have a team of reporters and also a special guest joining us on this breaking news broadcast and the continuous coverage. Shavan.
Well, a short recap of what we know at this point in time, and also perhaps, Niranjan, what I'll try and do over the next couple of minutes, try and take our viewers through the place of the point of conflict in Galwan Valley itself, because that's where when the de-escalation process was basically underway late last night, when this scuffle between the Indian Army and the Chinese Army actually took place, resulting in 3 of our soldiers being martyred. That's what we do know at this point in time, but casualties have been reported from both sides. In fact, we're being told that the Chinese have also now admitted that there have been casualties on their side. But talking about the point of conflict, and if Colonel Dinny is also on this particular broadcast, he could perhaps also join me trying and explaining this particular area. What we have done is, with the help of Google Earth, trying to just explain this to our viewers. This one, what you're looking at, Shyok and Galwan River. This is the point of confluence as far as the Galwan River and Shyok is concerned. But if I just try to enlarge this image, the Google Earth image, to try and show you, perhaps this is how the topography essentially looks like. This is the river that basically flows through Ladakh. And if you look on the other side, we'll try and just contract this a little bit to show you this entire area where down this, if you look at from Karakoram Pass, if you look, the road basically goes, the DBO road is what has been a point of conflict with the patrol point 14. Now this is the area that we're talking about. Now what really happened was, on 5th of May, Niranjan, we're given to understand that Indian Army was carrying out their reconnaissance. At that point in time, the southern side of DBO, they basically found out that there have been a built-up on the Chinese side. When we talk about built-up, we're talking about vehicles that were basically brought in by the Chinese Army, as well as we're being told that there were more troop deployment that took place. Roughly about 2,000 to 3,000 is the number that we are picking up as far as the troop deployment is concerned. And this was also matched by India in the days to come. Now, as far as Chinese objection is concerned, there is essentially a feeder road that was being built by India. The DSDBO feeder road all the way to patrol point 14. That was basically objected by the Chinese. Remember, in the military level talks that took place, beginning from the co-commander talks that took place, and thereafterwards there have been the brigadier level talks, major general level talks, colonel level talks. There have been multiple rounds of talks that have been going on between India and China to try and diffuse the situation, and that's the reason why India has basically pointed out the de-escalation process that was taking place. So what you're looking at, viewers, behind me, this particular map is one such point of conflict, apart from Pyongyang, so that is the other point of conflict between both sides. Now, as far as Galwan River is concerned, important to point out here is that this has not been a flashpoint just recently. It has been a flashpoint with the Chinese even in 1962. In fact, in 1975, we've had a problem with the Assam rifles at that point in time. So there has been a conflict, there has been a clash between both sides time and again for decade-old, flashpoint rather, as far as Galwan River is, or rather the Galwan Valley is concerned. But as far as Pyongyang is also concerned, from finger 4 to all the way to finger 8, where generally Indian troops have carried out patrolling, that has been stopped is what we are being told, and there's been a Chinese build-up there. As far as India's stand is concerned, India time and again has been maintaining that what we are looking forward to is a status quo ante, going back to our old position. But that is something that has really not worked out well as far as what's happening on the ground. Niranjan, I'm not very sure if Colonel Dinny is joining us on this particular broadcast, because Colonel Dinny, who was commanding an infantry battalion, he would be in a better position to also explain this to our viewers. Colonel Dinny, if I can come to you, try and help our viewers to understand the topography itself, because it's very important for our viewers to understand where exactly this point of conflict has been, because what we do know, the point of conflict has been a patrol point 14. As of now, there is no confirmation as far as last night's scuffle is concerned, whether it took place at a patrol point 14 or some other location. So we're not going to speculate on that. Neither am I going to ask you perhaps if you are aware of where exactly it took place. Just from your experience, while your battalion was in Pengang, but I'm assuming you've also had a fair idea of how Galwan, Galwan area has been like, and the point of conflict time and again. Could you explain this to us, to our viewers, the topography as well as the kind of deployment essentially that takes place from both sides?
Yeah, thank you, Savan. And this particular area, like you rightly mentioned, that it is still the exact area where this clash has taken place is not yet known. So we will not speculate on exact location. But the area of Galwan, as we all know from Pangong So, which is very well known now, it is about 200 kilometers to the north, approximately 200 kilometers to the north. So that is the distance which we are talking of. And there the Galwan flows from east to west and comes and joins at Shok, the Shok River. Now, we all know that along the Shok River is the DSDBO road almost running parallel to it, and along the LAC, parallel to the LAC, and it further starts from Durbuk and it goes right up till DBO. Now, this particular incident where the conflicts have been taking place is like what you also mentioned in between, that there was a feeder road which was from the confluence of Shok and Galwan. There is a feeder road which moves along the Galwan River and it comes towards the LAC. And this particular BP14 is roughly in the on the LAC itself. So during this conflict, what has been told that both parties from both sides have basically taken up positions on in the near vicinity or at PP14 itself. So that is the first thing which we must understand, and there is hardly any. The river is, as in between you were showing a video, the river is not a big river. It's a small river, and there is a road which goes along the river, and there is a steep cutting towards one side. So even if you fall down from the track at places, you can still it's quite risky to even be on that particular stretch. So that is the first thing which I would like to say, that this is, and when you're talking of this area, we're talking of an altitude of 14,000 and above, 14,000, 15,000 feet. So we must all understand that this is the kind of terrain where these operations are taking place right now. Now, as far as this particular conflict is concerned, it is yet to, it is really surprising that during the de-escalation process, as has been brought out by the Army Headquarters press release itself, that this particular thing has happened. It is quite, it is not something which, it is absolutely not normal. It is a serious issue. And I'm sure in the coming days, as and when more and more reports come, we'll be able to get a clear picture that exactly what triggered this particular incident and manifested in such casualties on both sides.
Can I then ask you, Colonel Dinny, are you optimistic that perhaps the talks would continue, we would be in a position to diffuse the situation, or perhaps we are looking at a situation that talks are basically out of the window and we are basically off track?
No, I am still optimistic, Savan, because I feel that like the statements which have been coming from the Chinese side and from our side, and the fact that it has been confirmed that the casualties have been from both sides. Exact number we may not come to know what is the exact number on the other side, because of reasons we know that the kind of the media clamp which they have. And but definitely there is an acknowledgement that casualties have happened on both sides. So I am still optimistic that the talks will continue, and I feel that in the coming days you may find the escalation, maybe it'll happen on a faster scale. Now that the level at which violence can happen if troops are closer together, even if it is for a short while, is quite visible to everyone now. So I think I am very optimistic that even now, through negotiations, through other peaceful means, we will be able to find a resolution or resolve this issue. That's what I feel, Savan.